Welcome back to Sports Club Podcast. We have a ton of stuff to hit on this show. We have a bunch of NFL free agency stuff. We have some golf. We have some men's college basketball. We have some NBA. We have pretty much just about every sport you can think of. We're going to try to cram it all on this podcast. Billy, the first thing we're going to start off with is Tiger Woods winning a big tournament last weekend.
Tiger Woods picks up his second victory before the Masters for those first times in 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years.
You know what? And I actually got to watch the third and fourth round, and let me just tell you, this was probably the best I've seen Tiger play in a few years. He looks solid. He's got his swing just a lot more consistent. He's still, if he can just get to the point where he can hit consistent drives, which, to be honest with you, is not Tiger Woods' forte, I think he'd be unbeatable. But at the same time, the good thing about him is, and you've got an incredible stat about the approach play of Tiger. It really doesn't matter where Tiger hits it because he's eventually just going to get back to the green and be able to make it. Yep. The good thing about Tiger the great thing about Tiger, I got really excited watching. Number one, you're going to get a lot of ratings for him because
absolutely.
Tiger pushes the ratings, and if you look at what happened at the Chrysler Invitational this weekend, it was just through the roof. But Tiger, he hated making bogeys. Like, he got back to that point where it's like he's pissed.
Yep.
And after 27 birdies for the entire tournament, and that's the second career best, it looks like he's back.
Self-proclaimed best golfer the past few years, just a week removed of Rory pretty much walking off the green because of a toothache. Tiger comes out and has just an amazing weekend. His approach play is what's picked up in the last few years. In 2011, he was about 29 feet 9 inches from the hole when he was on the green, which was tied for 163rd on the tour. This year, he has really turned it up. He is about 14 feet 1 inch, so almost under 14 feet away from the hole when he gets on the green, which is tied for ninth on the tour. And whenever you can get in, you're in the top 10 for approach play and you have the putting that Tiger does, it's going to be a lethal combination.
And Steve Stricker actually helped him out with his putting this weekend also, and you can actually tell just how his putting changed from the previous tournament. It was, he loosened his grip and it was amazing how many balls started falling into the cup. Let's talk about the tournament. The tournament's coming up really quick. We are less than a week away from Selection Sunday. We're midway through, championship week right now. The Big Ten tournament, I think, starts tomorrow. The Big East tournament has already started. The SEC tournament, I believe, also starts tomorrow. There's a lot of teams that are fighting for their tournament lives, including a lot of them in the SEC.
Yeah, a lot of the SEC bubble, and that's what I have marked down as the best tournament, not necessarily talent-wise, but just for teams that are fighting for their spots in the tournament. Kentucky's fighting, year in and year out, you can't always start 5 freshmen and have a good team. They're fighting for their tournament lives. Tennessee is fighting. Ole Miss, Bama, all of them are fighting for one of those last spots in the bracket.
Let me just tell you, I actually got to see probably the last 5 minutes of the Bama UGA game over the weekend, and Bama's final shot to beat Georgia was epic. Yeah. I mean, just half court heave. Made it in. It was incredible. Let's talk about the possible number one seeds right now. And we're looking at Louisville, Duke, Indiana, and Gonzaga, obviously. Gonzaga, I think, will probably end up being the number one overall seed, unless Indiana just comes out, and wins the Big Ten tournament. I think if Indiana comes out and wins the Big Ten tournament, Indiana will be the number one overall. But I think if Zaga's got a good chance right now.
Yeah, Zaga has a good chance because they're ranked number one, but I think if Duke does anything in the ACC tournament, there's no doubt in my mind that they would have to be the number one overall seed. They're number 2 right now in the polls. They have the number 1 RPI. They have the number 1 strength of schedule. I mean, this team is just done terrific. They're 27-4. Coach K has really got them rolling. And I kind of think that Virginia loss might have lit a little fire under Coach K and that team, and that's something you do not want to do with a Duke team when it comes tourney time.
And the kid Kelly is back, and he has been on fire ever since he came back, and that's actually propelled Duke into some pretty big, substantial wins. Yep. What about the sleepers for the tournament?
Sleepers for the tournament for me is New Mexico and Marquette. Both of those teams have had a good run. I think they're a little under the radar. New Mexico right now is number 2 in RPI, and Marquette is number 10. And New Mexico right now is 16-5 against RPI top 100 teams. Marquette is 10-6 against RPI top 100 teams. Both of those are very respectable. I really think New Mexico is gonna be a dark horse in this year's tournament. I believe they have them at the moment as a number 4 seed in one of the tournaments, or in one of the brackets. I really think they could go probably, or number 3 seed. They have them as a number 3 seed against Stephen F. Austin as their first, and I really see that they could possibly make it to the Elite 8. They would have to defeat a North Carolina or Georgetown team probably on their way to the Elite 8, but I really see New Mexico as kind of one of those sleeper teams that nobody's talking about.
A team that a lot of people are talking about right now is the Miami Heat in the NBA, and after 19 consecutive wins in a row, it's hard not to. The win last night against the Atlanta Hawks was impressive. They just came out and dominated pretty much the entire game. Teague did go out with an ankle injury midway through the game, but that does hinder the Hawks. But still, 19 wins in the NBA. I mean, you're just looking like one of the most dominant teams in the NBA. However, the San Antonio Spurs have also been actually really, really good and solid in the West too. They may not have 19 wins in a row, but they're keeping up with the Miami Heat as far as wins are concerned.
Absolutely, and they're an old team. Unlike the Miami Heat, they need their rest.
But good point. It's the longest win streak by the reigning MVP in LeBron James, and it will be the MVP this year also.
Absolutely. I really hope that this is the finals, because I think this would be a terrific matchup. Right now, the San Antonio Spurs, they're not on a 19-game win streak, but they're only 2 games behind the Heat in the loss column. The Heat are 5th right now in points per game. The Spurs are 4th in points per game. Both of these teams are streaking at the right moments. It would seem like Greg Popovich has got his team rolling, and Dwayne Wade and LeBron James down in Miami have their team rolling. But the Heat, which makes this so amazing, in the 19 wins. In professional sports, there's not a huge gap between the worst and the best teams. And the Heat, in all of their 19 games, they've only had 2 games decided by 5 points or less.
Yeah. I mean, they're just substantially better than everyone else. They're playing at a better rate. LeBron James, not only is he passing the ball well, but his shooting has substantially gotten better.
Absolutely.
So it's really, really helped having the MVP. And you know what? Dwayne Wade is no pushover, guys. No. He really isn't. He's still probably one of the best guards in the game right now. And Chris Bosh is still just a perfect example of just play your game and the points will come to you.
I believe the 19-game win streak is the 5th longest of all time. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. The Heat will play for 20th. They'll play Philadelphia, and then they have the Bucks. And then I believe 22nd, which would be tying the record for the longest streak of all time. They will be playing in Boston on Monday, March 18th to tie the longest record. Yep.
Let's talk about a streak that just did end with the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks lost twice over the weekend, finishing their consecutive point streak of 24 with back-to-back losses, and they gave up 12 goals in those back-to-back losses, six in each. It was just a really, really rough game for I think Crawford started on Friday and Emery started on Sunday. Both goalies did not look as solid as they have. The D has been just a little bit shaky. Patrick Chart is actually out, I think 3 to 4 weeks with an upper body injury. So that hurts the Hawks considerably. He's actually one of the best wingers that we have, forwards that we have, and I'm not making excuses for the Blackhawks, but it's a little bit of parity. He said if there's not a big gap in difference in teams, and the two teams they lost to are pretty much down where the Flames are right now, in as far as wins are concerned.
Yeah, the thing that kind of worries me about the Blackhawks, but obviously I'm not a fan. I don't watch a lot of the Blackhawks game. Was the back-to-back games that they lost after they broke it? They allowed 12 goals in those two games combined. I mean, that's a ton of goals to allow after you just came off a 24 game streak of no regulation losses.
Well, obviously we're through mid-season of the NHL season, considering that the lockout started late and everything. Who's the strongest teams right now?
Oh, the strongest teams by far right now are, I think they've really set themselves apart. Montreal, Pittsburgh, Chicago, and Anaheim. In my opinion, they are head and shoulders above the rest of the competition.
When you've got the forwards like you have in Pittsburgh and Chicago, you're going to have good scoring teams, yep, which Chicago and Pittsburgh have. Anaheim and Montreal have been they're actually keeping up with Chicago right now with wins concerned, or where the wins are concerned. I think they're only about 5 points back of Chicago right now, which a week ago, I think the closest team was, 9 points.
Yeah, I think 9 points.
So,
you're right.
5 points is considerably closer than it used to be. But I agree with you. I think Chicago and Anaheim in the West, Montreal and Pittsburgh in the East. Yep. I think that all four of those teams are
very strong.
Are really, really strong. How about the Flames actually shopping Jarome Iginla? They're going to shop their captain.
Yeah, they're shopping their captain around. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. I kind of think they're just seeing what possibly some teams will offer them. The Flames are the oldest team in the NHL at the moment. They're trying to get some youth in that squad, and they're just trying to get something different. I mean, some nights the offense isn't there, but just about every night the defense isn't there, and you go into a game expecting a loss, and when a win happens, you're excited about it. I really think they're just shopping Iginla out there just to see if they can get absolutely anything that's worth it. I highly doubt they trade Iginla, though. He's actually kind of on a hot streak at the moment. The past 7 games, I want to say he has like 4 or 5 goals. He's getting hotter as the season goes on after a pretty cool start. I think they're just going to shop him just to see what they can get out of him. I highly doubt that he will be going anywhere, though.
Someone else on a considerable hot streak is Andrelton Simmons of the Atlanta Braves. Mm-hmm. Right now he's playing for the Netherlands in the World Baseball Classic, has been incredibly solid, yep, at the top of their lineup. He's had 2 home runs. He's now up to 9 or 10 runs and leads the World Baseball Classic, yep, in runs scored. The United States has played well. They're actually into the semifinal rounds. They're playing Puerto Rico last night and won 7-1. Yep. David Wright had a fantastic RBIs in the World Baseball Classic already. But do you think that the USA can be stopped at this point?
I do. After seeing some of the other people play, after seeing some of the other teams play, I honestly think that they could possibly have hiccups. Japan has looked terrific in the second round. They're 3-0. The Netherlands have looked good. They've had solid pitching and solid runs. The United States, obviously, in my opinion, have more talent than any of the other teams. They have, more Major League Baseball players, obviously.
I don't think they have more talent. I mean, look at the Dominican Republic team.
I think they have more talent than the Dominican Republic.
Come on.
I really do. But I honestly, if the USA plays up to their standards and plays up to how they should be playing, then I don't think there's anybody that can stop them.
You know what? I think they've got really good pitching, and when you've actually got the pitching coach is Greg Maddux and the first base coach is Dale Murphy, I think you've got a pretty good squad in your hands.
I'd agree, yeah.
All right, Bryce, you've been all over this. We've been tweeting from our original Sports Club page at Sports Club NFL. The NFL free agency opened up yesterday at 4:00, and there has been a ton of moves. Yep. And actually 2 moves were made right before free agency started. There was a trade. Baltimore traded a couple picks to San Francisco San Francisco traded a couple picks to Baltimore for Anquan Bolden. Bolden now becomes probably the number 2 wide receiver in San Francisco behind Michael Crabtree. The other big signing or a big trade right before free agency started was Percy Harvin is now a Seattle Seahawk. The Seahawks gave up a first-round pick in this year's draft, a seventh-round pick in this year's draft, and a middle-round pick in next year's draft for Percy Harvin. But go ahead and run down through all the big signings that you think of in this week's free agency.
Big signings. Well, I'll start off here in Atlanta, just for all the homers. Willie Moe re-signed 5 years, $32 million. That's a great pickup for Atlanta. They really needed that. They also re-signed Sam Baker, 6 years. I don't remember the numbers on that as far as money. Another good pickup, but as far as I remember, money for Sam Baker it was a really, really reasonable deal. Dunta Robinson, former Falcon, goes off to Kansas City, 3 years, $15 million. Cincinnati picks up the option on Mike Nugent, an Ohio State boy. Just some of the top wide receivers that were signed just in the past few days. Wes Welker goes from the Pats to the Broncos, giving Peyton Manning another weapon. Obviously know about Joe Flacco signing a huge contract for the Ravens. Mike Wallace is going to go down to the Miami Dolphins and give Ryan Tannehill another target down there. And the Dolphins are talking about drafting possibly a running back to fill in Reggie Bush's shoes to try to give Tannehill another option, and I believe they're going to look into another tight end, possibly just trying to give Tannehill as many options as possible. Dwayne Bowe stays in Kansas City. I think that was a smart move. You want Alex Smith to have as many weapons as possible out there. Deshaun Goldson, really big impact for the San Francisco defense last year, goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have a lot of cap room. Look for them to make some more free agent moves before the draft starts. They have a ton of draft room. Some of the big ones, Glenn Dorsey moves from Kansas City to San Francisco, and the Reggie Bush, like I said earlier, left Miami. He's going up to Detroit, give some help to Megatron and former Georgia Bulldog Matt Stafford.
And you know what? And actually, to speak on that too is, an ESPN analyst has actually come out and said that and I think it was ex-Colt general manager Bill Polian came out and said that with Bush going to Detroit will be the next best show on turf team.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Which is really weird. I just wanted to throw that out. I thought that was really, really interesting hearing that.
That offensive line still has to protect Matthew Stafford, which was a huge problem last year. But if they can keep Matthew Stafford upright and Matthew Stafford distributes the ball correctly, then I don't see why that can't happen. But I think that's kind of a tall order. Some of the other free agent news that's come down today: Rashard Mendenhall leaves the Steelers and goes to the Arizona Cardinals. I really feel bad for anybody that goes to the NFC West because it is competitive as the NFC South was the past few years. The NFC West is turning into that.
Cardinals have also signed Drew Stanton and cornerback Gerard Powers. Big pickup for Cardinals, which I don't understand why they're signing more quarterbacks. Didn't they have plenty of quarterbacks on their roster last year?
Yep. Just a few more. Former Jets running back Sean Green goes to the Tennessee Titans. He's going to pair up with Chris Johnson there. They also signed, I believe the Titans signed a pretty good guard out. Either they signed him or they are still in talks. Yeah, Adam Levitri. He was, I believe, the number one guard rated on this free agent. So they're really looking to bolster their running game, which Chris Johnson, I know his struggles last year were documented, but a lot of that was on the shoulders of the offensive line, creating absolutely no holes for him. Paul Kruger got himself a ring in Baltimore. He just went off in the playoffs, did a terrific job of getting to the quarterback for the Ravens. He is going to Cleveland, and he is getting paid. There's still a few more that are out there that are kind of waiting to be signed. A few more of the big names. But
Patriots are actually looking at former wideout Danny Amendola,
which is a terrific pickup for pretty cheap. You can get him.
Yeah. And I mean, 2 years for $12 million is the deal for Wes Welker in Denver, which is that is actually a really, really good deal for Denver considering what he gives, because Wes Welker has had 110 receptions in 5 of the last 6 seasons. The Broncos have only had one wide receiver with 110 catches in a season in franchise history.
See, in that situation, I like that deal they gave him, but I would have seen if they could have picked up Danny Amendola for a little bit cheaper, because I believe Amendola would give you just as much production in that system as Wes Welker would.
Another big name that could possibly be leaving their former team and a former championship team, Ed Reed is going to be visiting the Houston Texans tomorrow, which is really, really interesting thought. So, I mean, there's a lot of big things going on. Free agent, please, guys, if you really want to catch up with the NFL, please follow us at Sports Club NFL. Also, Bryce and I are going to try to cover it as much as possible on our own personal accounts. He's at Bryce S89, and I'm at Billy Lindahl. Anything else for you, Bryce?
No, I was just gonna rattle off a few more as much as I love NFL free agency, I was just gonna rattle off a few more big names. Jake Long and Ryan Clady are still out there as free agents, both offensive tackles, both terrific. And we got 2 kind of aging defensive ends with Dwight Freeney, Osi Umenyiora that are out there. They're still free agents. I'm really excited to see where this free agency market takes us. And Steven Jackson, another one that's been rumored talking to the Falcons, is still a free agent out there that we haven't heard anything about.
He's also talking to Green Bay as well.
Yeah. That's all the free agent NFL news we got for you today.
Alright, buddy. Alright, guys. Well, if you need anything else, have any other questions, please contact us. Again, we gave you our Twitter accounts earlier. Again, this show's about you. We're going to keep following all sports. If you want to talk golf, like we talked about earlier with Tiger, if you want to talk about the World Baseball Classic,
if you want to talk about soccer,
if you want to talk about soccer, Bryce will be here because I will probably be snoozing somewhere else. but that's it for Bryce, and I'm Billy, guys. Thanks for listening.